prospered. They would have been fruitful and multiplied there, and everything would have been fine. But because they rebelled against God, a corruption came into the natural world, and our bodies now have corruption. We know they're falling apart. There's a reason why we have to get health care, because we're not healthy. You know, no matter how hard you try to keep yourself healthy, as you get older, your eyes start to fade. You know, how many of you here, after reaching a certain age, you're driving and you're looking at those big Southern State Parkway signs and you're like, what exit is that? And you're squinting, hoping that you can get a good look. And now I go to the doctor, and back in the day, they had a horrible name for these things. They call them now progressives. I'm not progressive, but they call them progressives. They were called bifocals. Remember the bifocals that you would see adults wear when you were a kid, and you're like, wow, that glass is about an inch thick on their eyeballs. And they needed that because they couldn't see and they couldn't read and all this different stuff. I got them. I have to wear them. My hearing is getting worse and worse. Sometimes it's to your advantage, because when your wife is calling you and you didn't hear, you can say, hey, I couldn't hear you. I couldn't hear you. I wasn't ignoring you. Getting old, you know. And you know, hair falling out and teeth rotten and all these different things. Your joints hurt. You know, who here gets out of bed in the morning and you hear like a symphony going on? It's just your bones and your joints. Yeah, that's what life is like. But this is part of the package here, because, you know, we're feeling the effects of sin on humanity in the natural realm. The body dies. No matter how hard we will pray for somebody, the body dies. You have to experience death to make it through that doorway that brings you to your God. Maybe it was the fact that he saw their pain and grief. Maybe that's what angered him, that they had to go through so much heartache. Not just that sin had its effects on others and they die, and he just never wanted to see them experience a natural death like that. Or maybe it was that they're crying over someone that they're going to have lost now. They're alive, but they've lost in their heart. Maybe that's why Jesus was angry and all these different things. But I'll give you a perspective that I had on why the anger welled up. Here it is that Martha declares Jesus is Lord. That in the midst of her grief, she's still seeing him as Lord. But then there are others who might not feel that way. And an interesting verse, it says this when Jesus is weeping with them, right? The shortest verse in the Bible. Should this be one of our memorization verses to help you out? Jesus wept. Hey, I memorized one. In verse 35, it says, then Jesus wept. The people who were standing nearby said, see how much he loved him. But some said, this man healed a blind man. Couldn't he have kept Lazarus from dying? And then it goes on, it says, Jesus was still angry as he arrived at the tomb. I want to put a proposal out there to you that what could have possibly angered Jesus was that the answer and the healing that they needed was standing right there, and some felt like he was letting them down. And we can do that. We can go back to where Martha was and say, if only you had been here. And this has happened before, because Jesus lived in a culture where people knew what death was. Unlike us, you know, there are some of you who are in law enforcement and you're EMTs, first responders, and you've seen a lot worse than myself or the average person. Maybe I've seen a little bit because I've done so